On June 12th, the Pentagon released 72 documents it had kept sealed since the 1940s. One of them is a memo from a federal agent who says he saw something in the sky that he could only compare to the flying car from Harry Potter. And the file includes an AI-generated image of it, created 2.5 years after he says it happened. This is sealed frames, and this is what they just let slip through. This wasn't an accident. It wasn't a leak. It was a release, the third one in under 2 years, all tied to the same directive. A push from the top of the U.S. government to declassify decades of files on what used to be called UFOs, and what the Pentagon now calls unidentified anomalous phenomena. The files span the 1940s all the way up to this year. Some are typewritten reports from the Cold War. Others were filed just weeks ago. Officially, the goal is transparency. The same administration ordered the release of records tied to the Kennedy assassinations and to files the public had been asking about for years. On paper, this is the government finally opening the drawer. But here's what nobody tells you when a transparency release happens. The government chooses exactly what goes in the box. And what's inside this one is stranger and emptier than anyone expected. Buried in the batch is a witness account from July of last year. Northeastern United States, just after 9 at night. A person pulls into their driveway, coming home from work, and sees an intense, unexplained light hanging in their backyard sky. No explanation, no follow-up, just logged, filed, and locked away for almost a year. But the file that's getting the most attention isn't from a civilian. It's from a federal law enforcement agent, someone trained to observe, to report facts, not impressions. In October of 2023, somewhere in the western United States, this agent says he saw an object in the sky. And when asked to describe it, he didn't reach for aircraft or drone. He compared it to the flying car from Harry Potter. That description alone would be enough to make this file memorable. But the Pentagon went one step further. They attached AI-generated images, renderings of what the agent says he saw. And right there, in the file itself, is a caveat almost nobody is talking about. Those images were generated 2.5 years after the sighting took place. Think about what that means. This isn't a photograph. It isn't a sketch made minutes after the encounter while the memory was still sharp. It's an AI's best guess, built from a second-hand description, recreated years later, and filed as evidence in an official government record. Is that disclosure? Or is that the appearance of disclosure? Here's what connects this release to the two before it. Each time, the headlines promise something close to proof. Each time, the actual documents land somewhere very different. Incomplete sightings, vague descriptions, files that raise more questions than they close. The official position every time is almost identical. There is no confirmed evidence of anything beyond conventional explanation. Case after case, the language repeats itself, like a script nobody wants to deviate from. It's not necessarily a cover-up in the way conspiracy theories imagine it. It might just be bureaucracy protecting itself, one ongoing review at a time. But intent doesn't change the pattern. 3 releases, 3 rounds of headlines, and still, after all of it, not one document that closes the loop. This is exactly the kind of file Sealed Frames exists to dig into. Not because we think every redacted line hides a monster or a spaceship, but because the act of selective disclosure is, itself, a story. What a government chooses to show you is never neutral, and what it chooses to leave just outside the frame tells you exactly as much. 72 files, decades of silence, and one image that was never real to begin with. If this is the kind of thing you want dug up, the documents, the gaps, the parts of history that were never meant to resurface, this is the channel for that. Subscribe to Sealed Frames. There's more sealed than they'll ever admit.